Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vase. We had an exciting 48 hours now. The last video came about 36 hours ago or more. And we are back yet again with another trading guest, someone who came on my radar very long ago. In fact, I believe he was even tweeting charts about Bitcoin before I came on the scene. So let's welcome DJ Thistle to the show. How are you, man?
Hello, good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, awesome.
I don't think I've ever seen you on camera, actually. I'm not familiar with you doing any videos. You don't have your own YouTube channel. I don't remember when you started tweeting out charts, but I remember going back a long way. And back in the day when I started doing TA in the Bitcoin space, which was early 2014, the only other guys that I noticed had reasonable charts were obviously Tour de Meester and my friend Van Zandt, who I didn't really know at the time. And I did notice your charts long ago.
Thanks.
So how long have you been in this space tweeting about Bitcoin, charting and trading, man? And then we'll get into your whole DJ life. That's like my number one question right now.
Okay, so I got started, I started posting charts online in either late 2013 or early 2014. And I had been interested in charting and learning about it since 2009. So I didn't have a bunch of money and was into loads of investing then, but I was into silver and stuff like that because I had coins and numismatic coins. And then when silver and gold started moving, in 08, 09, and 2010, I just, even though I wasn't hugely invested in the market, I'd kind of started learning how to chart that way. Now, making the transition from commodities to crypto was a huge, big difference, though. Yeah, there was a learning curve there.
We're going to get into your trading history and how you learned it and stuff. But why don't you, I'm always conscious of people's privacy. I know your first name, but I like calling you DJ Thistle. And also, that actually is your night job. You are still a DJ, as everyone can see in your Twitter profile right now on the screen.
Yeah, you betcha. Yeah, it's been a lot of things have changed in the music industry, and with property values being high, a lot of nightclub owners have sold out buildings in the last 12 months. But for the last 22 years, I was playing 3 nights a week kind of thing all the time, and doing the festivals and all that kind of stuff when I was younger. And then I wanted to get, married and have kids and chill out. So then I played more locally. And, it's been nice that as the music industry has been going through this change, Bitcoin was good to me the last few years. So it's been, I've been able to just kind of raise the kids and chill out, which I feel fortunate for.
So where in British Columbia are you DJing? What spots? Because there's probably people from that area watching us because we do get a lot of views.
Sure, yeah. So I'm in Kelowna. It's halfway between Vancouver and Calgary, up in the mountains. We're a tourist town. I did used to be called Gotchas, and then it was Sapphire. So I was at there for Gotchas era, and then was at Roses for a really long time. And they sold last year. And geez, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 places have sold out. So I've been playing at Train Station every now and again, and there's just not much going on right now. So I'm not playing as much regularly and just doing more shows and stuff.
All right, cool. What do you play? Okay, so before we do that, oh man, I almost want to Google something. Hold on. Okay. So as you tell us what you play, so I'm going to Google DJ Tone and then Tone Vase Twitter.
Okay.
And some old tweets might pop up. Hold on a second. Maybe I have to go to images. Oh, wait. Boom, there it is. So it's a tweet about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yep, here it is. It has 3 likes because no one was following me back then.
Yeah.
And there's a young Tone Vase right there.
Great.
There. And here's the CD collection back when MP3s were starting to get burned. And there it is, DJ Tone,
Nice.
which is what it was back in the day. I still have a lot of these CDs somewhere in the garage.
That's pretty funny, man. That's awesome. The CD era. Yeah, I was like a vinyl DJ for the longest time, and I also produced music, and like I have like an audio engineering degree and stuff like that. So I was actually teaching at a not a university, but it is like a accredited post-secondary education school for audio engineering. So yeah, I just kept on staying into vinyl, and then when Serato and all that kind of stuff came out, I used the time code box to be able to just keep playing vinyl. So I never really got on the CD trip, but I mean, whatever, you know, I think it's just about out there making connection with people and the music, and it's just a good vibe, right?
All right, so before we get the train, so what kind of music do you DJ?
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
I missed it.
so it's definitely evolved over the years. In the beginning, it was like just like drum and bass and hip hop and trip hop, and you know, like I was just playing like, you know, the early era of rave music and that, and then festivals, same kind of thing, drum and bass and breaks and jungle. And then the last 10 years with doing more club stuff, I got into, because I've always been into hip hop and jungle, I got more into playing dance hall and soca, and you know, not as much reggae, but more so
soca. That's awesome. I used to play that as well. Dance hall, soca, reggae, reggaeton, R&B, and hip hop. Those were
exactly.
my.
And you mean like I love playing, like tonight's gig is hip, like it'll be classic hip hop, soca, and reggae. So it'll be right up your alley.
You make me want to come out there, man. And people in the comments are saying how it's on a nice lake and everything.
Oh, it's gorgeous. If you Google, the spelling is there in my profile. If you Google Kelowna, BC.
No, I think we're definitely going to be Googling
Yeah, and you'll be happy. It is, it's a wine tourist destination. I think last year we actually got ranked like #1 by Huffington Post.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how far away are you from Vancouver?
4-hour drive.
Got it.
Oh, so we're like in the mountains in the middle of nowhere kind of thing.
I don't like the cold. I don't like the cold. It's going to have to be in August, man.
Yeah, right. So that's the thing is we're in Canada's only desert region. So it's really hot in the summer and pretty cold in the winter.
Oh, really? Okay. So what's the best?
Come in the summer. Yeah. So it's like 31
like
today.
May or September or something?
Pardon, what was that?
Like May or September are the best months?
So May and September would be, April, May, September would be not super hot. Yeah. So whereas June, July, and August is going to be like 100-degree weather.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that coming. Oh.
Yeah. We grow a lot of wine and fruit here.
And you're obviously north of Vancouver, 4 hours, because south you're hitting America, I'm sure.
So a little bit north and mainly east.
Cool. I should have just clicked on the word map here, and it would have made my life so much easier. And I'm supposed to be good with like geography and geology because I kind of have a degree in that, but.
Yeah, that's funny. That's when I did go to university before dropping out to do music, I was in for physical geography and geology.
Oh, nice. Hey, we got more in common. All right.
Yeah.
Let's jump on to the trading side. So you also started Coin Street News. It has its own Twitter handle, guys. All of this is in the video description, and it's a website for market news analysis. Tell us a little bit about this. When you started, and how's that going?
Yeah, so it started in 2014 and was pretty active, let's say probably 2015, 16. And then when the bull market just kind of went crazy in 2017, the site just dropped right off. And then I've just kind of had little posts here and there. And then in the last couple of weeks, you know, I've been trying to get things going more again. Yeah, it's just, you know, hard to keep up with a lot of different things. When I first started crypto, I was just having, we were just having our first baby, and now we've had 3. And number 2 is going to school in next week. So I'm just having more time to get back into that kind of stuff now.
Oh, congratulations on being a family man.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so here's the usual format. Oh, you know what? Before we get to the usual format, so are you self-taught in trading and TA, or did you take some classes? What got you interested? How did you learn it? And then I'll ask you later about what your favorite ways of trading are. What techniques do you actually use?
Sure. So yeah, self-taught. I didn't take any structured classes or courses or anything like that. And, you know, like an example I'll use is that when me and my wife bought our first home, it was this small little place and it was just an absolute piece of garbage. And I just like went on YouTube and started finding out, you know, I knew a bit about carpentry and just started fixing things. You go on, you know, you find your building codes and you blah, 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 and you do it. So it was much the same with TA. You know, I just kind of went and looked for stuff out there and did reading, and some resonated with me and some didn't. You try some stuff out. And like I was saying before, the switch from commodities to crypto was totally different, and the time frames are totally different. So it really was like relearning it all for crypto, what I had learned from silver and whatnot, because the pace and you know, like a lot of crypto, as far as I'm concerned, is it's not super liquid. It's back in the day, air quotes. You know, it wasn't really a lot of people, and it was just, you know, kind of like a handful of bots out there running the market. And you could really see those algorithms if you were, I think, a math astute person. And you know, it just became about trading patterns for me. So thus I got into really focusing and honing my skills with Wyckoff techniques. So self-taught, and just kept learning more on the Wyckoff route.
I would love to hear more about Wyckoff. Wyckoff is something I never officially learned, and it's not something that I use, which is great. And I remember you being a little bit critical of Hyperwave, so I would love to hear that criticism. It's so unfortunate that Tyler passed away, but I would love to talk to you about.
Oh, did I lose you? I guess we lost tone. Do I just keep rolling with this? Is this on air? It says live.
Don't hear me?
Oh, let's wait a moment. I see you now.
Can you hear me too?
Yeah, I hear you too, and the live stream never lost.
I'm having technical difficulties. Okay, it should be good now.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
We're good.
Yeah, don't know what happened there. Okay, so real quick, just for my own audience, I'm gonna go through my outlook on the charts. Feel free to ask me anything off of my charts that you see. I'm gonna go through it real quick, and then I'm gonna ask you to do your screen share, show us what you're thinking on different time frames, and then I'll just ask you questions about your trading style. When you used to trade futures, you traded futures on silver and gold, correct?
No, that's kind of what I was saying, is that, you know, back then I was just kind of like the poor DJ, so to speak. So, you know, I was buying coins and like bullion and things like that. So
oh, I see.
Watching the charts in the markets and getting used to it all kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the monthly outlook. Let's skip that. I'm going to go straight to the weekly outlook. One of my tools that I like to use is the TD sequential. I'm not sure if you ever studied it. I'm not sure if I've sent you the videos, but I'm happy to do it. My videos and the indicator as a professional courtesy, obviously. And for me, the weekly chart is kind of still neutral, but next week, if it falters, I become bearish. Now, having said that, I'm somewhat neutral on the weekly chart. It is leaning bearish to me because it has fallen back below the 38% Fibonacci. It is below a 7 simple moving average, which I do like on the weekly time frame. It has fallen below this trend line, and it remains above a stop and reverse point, which is something I learned from Tyler. So it is leaning bearish. I see no actual support until you get down to the 30 period moving average on a weekly scale, and that next level of Fibonacci on a pullback. So my general outlook on a weekly scale with my chart is slightly leaning bearish, but not activating any bearish trades. You want to comment on the weekly chart based on what you see on the screen?
Yeah, no, I don't really disagree with that, because when looking at the weekly chart with the daily chart in mind, you know, and we can do mine after, looking kind of at my system, it's showing that we're kind of at a base point that would be a pivot for the market. And when this pivot in the market happens in a bull market, pardon me, we can wick down, for a week or whatever, and it still come back up and everything be all good. So I think we're kind of looking at the same way. It is, it does have a bearish tilt to it, but it's very neutral, and it has the setups which could definitely be just shaking people out.
All right, great. So my daily chart, I've been drawing these triangles. I do like simplicity in my trading. I don't pay too much attention to the oscillators. They're kind of just there. I do like moving averages, but I take chart patterns like ascending and descending triangles very, very seriously. And I had two of them drawn. It looks like we clearly broke down from the smaller one and found support at the bottom of the bigger one. Now, the bigger one is not yet official. I would really want to see one more rejection in the mid 10,000s. And I think Bitcoin can rally here because it's sitting at a big point of support at 9,500. But I am leaning to this support level of 9,500 breaking. It can break later tonight. It can also break all the way in October. So we got a 6-week window for it to break. And when it does, I'm expecting, a pretty severe outcome because this 128-day moving average, once it's lost, the only point of support that I can point to is the 200-day moving average. And if that falters, because Bitcoin went up so fast, so hard, early in the year, that I don't see it having made any kind of a strong support. It can obviously reverse at any moment, but there's nothing there I can point to as a chartist. Your view on the daily chart?
Yeah, I don't disagree with the ability of a triangle to get drawn out. I think if it went the way that you're looking there, we'll have a lot of people kind of just be overlaying the last year and a half on top of this, because that market structure would be the same. I think that would be in a way too easy. I kind of would like to see, if we are going to see a dip, I'd kind of like to see it in the beginning days of September so that we can turn around by the 7th. And then that way we could maybe just come down to that solid green line that you have on the left, somewhere around 8,300-ish, something like that.
Yeah, that would be the 200-day moving average support if we break down early September.
Yeah, I would in a perfect world, based on, and we can get into it later, how I view Equinox and Gann trading Bitcoin in a bull market and how it all wraps up together. I would love to see the next few days into the beginning days of September break down and then shoot back up.
Okay. More on a fundamental level, I was caught a little bit by surprise when the price of Bitcoin started rising above 6,500. I called the breakdown to 3,000 pretty well. I was bullish because I felt it was oversold, and I sold that position around 51, 5,200. I attempted to go short right here at 5,500. That trade was profitable, but it failed. I love it when trades fail, but they still make you money.
Yeah.
I anticipated that this would be a high and we would go back to the lows. That clearly did not happen. And this whole run up from about 6,000 all the way to 14,000 really, really bothered me because I did not have a good reason for why it should be happening. It never made sense to me. In hindsight, it was probably a combination of a little bit of institutional investing and a lot of shitcoin exodus.
Yeah, most of the time I try not to put a Y to the charts. I just try and let the market take me. For me personally, I was very active in tweeting my outlook. So when we were doing that channel down on the left there, when we were getting down into the beginning of December, you know, I was wanting people to look out over the course of a weekend, and we were looking for a doji reversal, which we had. And then there was kind of that short squeeze up, and then it came back down into February. I tweeted about, you know, getting rid of the rest of the gold and silver that I had bought down in there, and that we were going to be in a bull market. For me, what I was seeing is that there was too much confluence of stuff that's not on your screen to the left and the bottom of there looking like the 70s, 80s, 90s gold chart on a monthly scale. And with sort of like me and the few people that I mentor and my friends and whatnot, the updates that I was giving out, you know, we were following it down from 6K to 3K on the, you know, even on the hourly and daily, you know, from the daily down to the hourly chart, almost tick for tick some days as it related to gold. So as we kind of kept breaking up and everyone wanted to keep shorting, I was pretty vocal in my stance that we were going to stay long. And I tweeted a 3 drives and a market model. You know, I did most people are used to seeing it as a bear. So I did it as that, like, and then inverted the chart. And, you know, that happened all the way to 13K. And that's,
I think it's time for you to pull up your charts, actually, to walk us through them. I'm just going to point to my 4-hour real quick. My 4-hour chart
is that, and I'll pull up mine.
Yeah, remains in this downward sloping channel, and it has found, you know, a critical level of support in the middle of this downward channel. And if we break this downward support and this channel, then we will break this triangle early. And I am expecting, you know, prices to fall down to 8,000 and statistically probably even lower than that. So DJ Thistle is setting up on his workstation right now, going into his man cave, and and we'll have him pull up his charts in a minute, guys. I'm taking a look at your live chat. I have someone saying, Tone, you were bearish at 3K looking for 1,300. That is actually not true at all. At 3K, I felt that the market was oversold. Was I looking for lower than 3K later this year? Absolutely, I was. But I was not bearish at 3K. I was bearish at 5K after we have moved from 3K to 5K. Feel free to go back and review the videos. All right, whenever you're ready, I'll stop my screen share and we'll throw yours on and walk us through your charts. I'm really curious about the time frames that you trade. Are you more of a swing trader, day trader, scalper? And what's your thought process on entering and exiting trades?
Sure. Man, that's so many different things. I guess I do all those different things. I break up things. I break up my funds into sort of a allocation pyramid, and that pyramid has some for holding, some for trading, some for swing trading, some for altcoins, some for high risk investments, some for you know, scalping. So I guess myself, because my life has changed so much from, you know, 1 kid to 2 kids to 3 kids to then kids going at school, it forced me to have to trade differently because you know, if you've got 1 kid and he's a baby and the wife's on maternity leave at home, you can, you know, you can day trade, scalp, you know, awesome. But if, you know, when I have all 3 kids at home and, you know, it's summer vacation, it's a little different, right? So my mindset changes. I guess we'll look at it from like the swing trade, and then I'll show you kind of like how I would do lower time frames. So, you know, back to what we were, maybe we should almost go back to one of your earlier questions, which was Wyckoff. I think it'll help show why I do what I do with trading. You know, if we were to go to Google and do Wyckoff models, images. So this is me here and here, which I got a really big up like the crypto community at large, because I think it's super awesome that this is information that's been around for over 100 years. We have all these super legitimate stock sites and chart sites and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we kind of memed our way a couple mentions into the top 10 of one of what I think is the best methodologist of all time. So, you know, we'll look at some other ones that are a little cleaner. You have like something like this, which is just basically showing, you know, a downtrend sideways, and, you know, you're breaking up, same thing. And, you know, an uptrend is basically the same thing, just inverted. It's an uptrend, kind of goes sideways, and then it breaks down. So in both of those cases, you're looking for hits on the extremities of the move. So I think like what you were saying when you were wanting to short here and then take a look at a bounce down here is when the price came up here, you were looking for that, you know, that test of the bottom again, which would be kind of like a typical Wyckoff thing. And it's not that, you know, in most cases that would happen for me and the people that I was sticking in touch with and talking to, and my calls on Twitter, we were expecting this to break up because of, geez, where is it now? No, wait. Ah, shit. What did I do?
You exited screen share. Just want to go back in.
There we go.
There you got it.
Is there any way I can move this tab to the side? Does it? Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah.
You can flip through tabs. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of where I think we are in the market right now here. So when, you know, people were shorting here, and then when the price was coming back down along here, people
it was crazy to short there at 3,000. Like people accuse me of saying that I was short at 3,000. I took a long trade at 4,000 before we even got to 3,000. So people are just crazy, because I felt that falling from 6,000 to 4,000 was oversold, and I expected a bounce. I just didn't expect a bounce to 14K.
Yeah, and pretty much nobody did. There was only a few people, you know, some people that I like, some people that I don't like that called it. But there was really only 2 or 3 people. And, you know, I saw a pissing contest on Twitter the other day about which person called it first kind of thing and whatever. I don't really.
Okay, let's start here. We have to exclude all the people that never called the bear market in Bitcoin to begin with, right? Like if you were a bull throughout all of 2018, anything you say about 2019 doesn't count.
Yeah, there you go. So for me, it was, I guess everyone can see the screen here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a typical markup model for a Wyckoff type thing. And then because there was so much confluence here, and then again here and here, most specifically this part in here and this part in here, when you broke it down and scaled the ratio, I think it was kind of like 3 weeks to 1 day or something, like a 3-week setting over here, a 1-day setting over here. The daily candles were looking the same. So to me, when something looks like a duck and walks like a duck for like a year and a half, I roll with it. So to me, the gold model was saying like, we go. And also up in here somewhere was where, like, I think this was when gold got added to the CME, and then it broke down. And then I think gold got its first ETF over here. And then Bitcoin, you know, gets added to the CME. We're still waiting for our ETF. So there was even fundamental analysis overlays that were happening. So, you know, once we took this out at 4K, to me, it was a markup model. It still looked like gold, and I wasn't preparing to sell until we had accelerated move, which was up here. And I mostly got out between 13 and 13.4. And then,
wow, very nice. So you are anticipating Bitcoin to go higher based on the similarity for that. That looks great, by the way. Where you the left side is gold and the right side is Bitcoin. Like that's really, really impressive. The similarity.
Yeah, and especially when you look at it from first CME, first ETF, and then here first CME, and we are also waiting for first ETF. So to me, it was just too many things were lining up. And considering that I went, you know, like all in, balls in down here at, I think my average was 35.5. I just decided to just go with it. And it worked, and it seems to still be going. I think that this down in here is kind of where we are. So, you know, we can go back down into this level, you know.
Well, actually, we are kind of lower, right? So your Bitcoin chart on the right is not, I just noticed that it's 11,600. And now we're down, you know, we just fell almost back to 9,000 in the last couple of days. Does that change anything for you?
No, and that's a great time to show this. So I was kind of like with the people that I hang out with and mentor and whatnot. I was looking for some kind of pullback based on that gold pattern, and I had been watching and trading the USD ZAR South African Rand basically pair a little bit due to turmoil there, and all of a sudden this just jumped right out at me. And I thought to myself, wow, like, is that kind of what Bitcoin looks like? And damn rights it is. So I did the math here and I was like, okay, well, that can take us back down. Let's zoom in. So, you know, this chart here was made at basically the same time as here, because we're up in the 11s, right? So I was saying to the guys like, hey, well, you know, if this is going to follow gold, but it also looks so much like the Rand right now, you know, we should really be open to it coming back down into here. Let's zoom in again. So it could do something like that, which was what I was talking about when you were mentioning your weekly view, where I was saying that I would love to see it basically break down over the next 6 days and then just pop right back up and stay in that range, right? And then that would kind of keep us in here, and then there's our trajectory, and hopefully something up in here. Maybe that could be where we finally get our ETF. And for altcoin traders, I think that either in here or in here is where altcoins are going to reverse, and they'll probably rally up until here-ish and then die off, and then Bitcoin would finish it off there.
Okay, so with that, I think that I have other questions, but like since you mentioned, so you are expecting a kind of shortened altcoin season as its final dead cat bounce?
So Altseason is a bit of a misnomer of a word. So some people, I wasn't aware of this until sometime last year, and somebody was like, well, where did this word come from? And somebody did this big, huge Twitter search, and apparently I was the first person to use it.
Nice.
So how and why I use it is, let's just pull it up. So I'm a big, you know, I'm big on all the classics, Wyckoff, Gann, and Livermore. So Wyckoff is patterns in general. Livermore is parabolas, and Gann is time and cycles. So I look at Gann with time and cycles, and I cross that against Wyckoff and patterns. And then when things blow off to the upside or downside, I use that parabola viewpoint from Livermore as my exit point or entry point if it's inversed. So how I came up with this kind of Altseason view is that I noticed a pattern throughout the years. We're going to grab December, and we're going to go back in here, December.
So what tool is that you're using right now?
What's it called? Time cycles.
Okay.
And there's another one here, cyclic lines. So, okay. So I'm looking at things going like, there's just too many patterns within like how a market flows from a bear market into a bull market and a bear market down again. Everyone's seen the Wall Street cheat sheet. But for some reason, you know, I was noticing other things going on, and I was one of the first persons to do like the big Doge cycle as well too. And I'll give credit where credit's due. I believe it was Low Strife posted something about a 285-day cycle on Bitcoin or something like that. So it was from looking at that cycle that made me go, okay, well, when I'm looking at my Gann and Wyckoff stuff, I should also be looking at the concept of time more. And when looking at the concept of time, Gann looked at stocks and spring equinox. And my view is that the fall, the autumn equinox is more important with crypto and how it relates to solstice kind of thing. So it's kind of like the reverse. Anyway, so back to here and cycles and alt season. So alt season to me is just before solstice with a rally into right around equinox. It is a season, truly a 3-month season where you go from solstice to equinox, solstice to equinox. Up here, you know, more stuff happening. It's not always perfect. You know, there's going to be outliers and misnomers, and not every coin falls the same. Here, even if you bought here and sold again, you know, there was a drawdown, but you still got to go to equinox. You know, it's like 1 day off there. This here traded differently, and you still got a low that comes in around the next when you invert it. Anyway, so the point is that alt season means roughly winter solstice to roughly spring equinox. So are we going to get alt season then? We might actually get it again because we missed it this year. Last year was kind of the top and exiting, and some small coins went, and not all the big market caps did. And in terms of the 2018 cycle, and then the 2019 cycle was totally missed. And there was one other time where we see data where we can pull that from, and that is when, let me move my bar here, and that's when looking at Doge. So it missed a cycle over here. So this is congruent because it's coming off of market all-time highs, and then this is congruent to this, etc. So point is, it missed a point in its cycle here, and then it made up with it with something twice as long there. So because many altcoins, we'll use Monero as an example, were so perfect with hitting alt season for like 4 years in a row and then missing it this time, I would expect that this year, yes, we are going to have something, and it should be enough that if you haven't been buying all the way down, that you should make some pretty good money.
Okay, I got a million questions. Let's start with, you do trade altcoins, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But you don't believe in hodling altcoins, or you believe that some of them will, you know, be successful in the future?
I believe that I should be open to the fact that Bitcoin could be usurped. What it will be, I have no idea. Am I putting my money on that? No, I am not. Generally speaking, I put no more than 20% at any time into altcoins. So before, when I was talking about that allocation pyramid, so for altcoins, for me, it would be looking for either the cyclical perfect altcoin season, the solstice to equinox, or it's easier to see with Doge, but it has a mid-course rally each time at day 98 usually. So those ones is where I would go and scale in 5%, maybe then into 10. And then if the whole market cap starts to move up, and if everything starts to move up, and if large caps are moving, then I'll go into a 20% allotment, and then I'm good, right? You know, whereas if I start with the 5 and 10 and it doesn't move, and we don't get a true alt season, or we don't get a true mid-course rally, then, you know, I'm pulling back at break evens and small losses and small gains, so that hopefully, you know, even if I am taking some losses, I'm only trying to scratch back 1 to 3% of a 5 to 10% allocation. I'm not the guy going in 60.
Gotcha. But even when you go in, your intention is to make, I guess, more Canadian dollars and more Bitcoin. Canadian dollar hasn't been doing very well. Would have been way better off holding on to the Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. So when my goal in trading altcoins is to make more Bitcoin. So, I mean, if that makes me a Bitcoin maximalist, I guess in a way it does.
No. I'm just curious about an idea, because I usually ask, let's say, we all have a HODL position, right? A position that we have no intention of selling.
Right.
It's like your retirement position.
Okay. I don't have that with any altcoins other than Tezos.
Okay, so Tezos, so it's Bitcoin and a little bit of Tezos.
Yeah, and then you know, by looking at the market and kind of what the market likes and doesn't like and what communities are out there, I did extremely well on Ripple when it all happened. I find that that's an easy market to trade. I'd seen a chart that broke down the volatility metrics of the top 20 or 30 coins, and that had Ripple as the most volatile. So to me, it was like, well, if I want to make the most Bitcoin, I should be trading Ripple properly because it's going to be the most volatile. So it's going to give me the most return for Bitcoin.
Oh, so, yeah, no, I never have an issue with traders. You can trade BitConnect for all I care, Ethereum or Bitcoin. Sure. You know, that part never bothered me. It was more like my problem has always been people that are like holding Ripple and telling other people to buy into Ripple.
Yeah, no, see, so for me, like probably ETH because of its network and just the popularity. Ripple because
what do you think of the ETH chart, actually? Can you pull that up? I would love to get your opinion, like daily and weekly time frames. What are you thinking? What does your TA tell you about Ether?
Sure. So I guess I was where are we? Back up in here. I drew this out because of what was happening over here. You know, yes, the similarities of the breakdowns, and you know, we have a main triangle, all our wicks, and then this very clean channel down. So I think that this clean, I'm not really looking at it till we have a little break of this channel and or capitulation under the channel. I don't like to tell new traders buy knives, but when you have really nice channels or really nice falling wedges and you have a really strong sell out of it, you just have to hit that with big caps. You don't want to do that with small caps and mid caps because that could be the dev leaving or any number of things, but things like Bitcoin or ETH or whatever, when it spikes under it, it's coming back. So those are good moves.
So you do think that Ethereum can rally in a similar way that the same pattern broke to the upside in early 2017?
I don't think necessarily that it has to make new highs, but I think you could see. What
about realistically, back to 0.0?
Yeah.
Realistically, up to 0.04-ish?
For a rally?
Yeah.
I mean, where are we now? We're here. So let's get a boop. Okay, so we're like here-ish. So, I mean, this area right in here, what's that? 11 and 12. Mm-hmm. That's definitely worth looking at. We've got an old high over here. We've got this sideways consolidation over here. We've got a little high, a swing high here, and a swing low right there. Those both mesh with this high over here. So to me, an algorithm definitely is looking at that down in 13s. And I would start rewatching it again there.
And if it rallies there, like what's your realistic target for an upswing? That's why I mentioned like 0.04 area.
So I guess I would go, let's say it goes to here. We'll just say,
okay. Yeah, it's all hypothetical.
So I would do something like that. And let me move my little box over here. I mean, so we're looking at couple different things. I think that we look at what I would call a retail raid in this area. And then these highs and this fib is the next stop. And then another raid over here, which is basically that fib. So 1, 2, 3 is where where those are the areas where I would reevaluate the market, maybe hedge myself kind of thing.
Okay. No, I was just curious. So it looks like in all of your charts, you're very big on fractals and looking for historical patterns, either within the same asset or an asset that has similar characteristics, either chart-wise or like fundamental-wise.
Yeah, I totally do. And that comes back down to the, I would say Wyckoff and Gann. Wyckoff showed that there was really just a few different market patterns. And when we look at the Wall Street cheat sheet kind of crew, and everyone that looks at that, that clearly shows that there's a pattern within trading and there's a pattern within psychology. Often those things overlap. Now, they're not overlapping against just people. They're also overlapping against the bots that are trading the market. So the algorithms that are on the market are not the same on each coin. So you can't, that's why, I'll look at the same asset for any patterns, because chances are the imprint of the algorithm is there, whether it's on a small time frame or a large. And then I really like this tool over here. So you have, your price range to figure out how far up or down it's going, but also the date range.
Oh, yeah, I use that all the time.
Yeah, and what I like about something like date is you can go, so what I did for everyone watching there is I took this high and I took this peak. Let's actually drag it out to where this kind of channel starts.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do this beforehand, so this could totally fail. So, we're looking at a multiple there of like roughly 3 to 1. So, when I look at, well, when is it going to break out? If that said 70 bars, then, geez.
About 200.
It could be out near 200, right? So it doesn't mean all the time, like at the end of the day, price action always wins. And you always have to, check your stuff once a day or once a week or once a month, whatever it is that your trading style prefers. And you're cross-referencing it against price action. But when price action continually follows a pattern, it's nice to have these time markers, because Gann was a big believer that price and time were connected. And people that follow my Twitter account often see me talk about 2 p.m. Pacific, often 8 a.m. as well, too, for a different style of move. So I find that there is actionable, because I've tweeted them enough and then shit happens. So I think there's enough actionable data that shows that there are time cycles within a day. So I think that there are time cycles within the larger network too.
Well, during my workshops, a strategy I used to trade all the time in the stock market was I used to trade a 10 a.m. reversal, and it worked for me really, really well. It happened way too often not to be a coincidence. Hey, any other charts you want to show us? I would love to see some, I don't know that much about Gann either. I would like for you to, so a couple of things. So I'd like for you to talk about Gann some more. You can pick a chart of your choice, but something that not in the past, but something that's current. You can pick your asset, and I like talk to us about what you're expecting from that asset using Gann. And also, I would love for you to walk us through Bitcoin, either weekly, daily, or both, from the perspective of Wyckoff, and where are we on the Wyckoff, stereotypical picture.
Sure. Okay. So you wanted to see some more charts, Gann, and then big picture view on Bitcoin. So I'll see what I had pulled up here still. So I did want to talk about, obviously, the gold Bitcoin relationship. And I wanted to mention the crossover here with the Rand pair, and we talked about that. So, to me, I guess we'll come back to that with Bitcoin. We're sitting right here, right now, right here.
A little higher than that. We're like at 95 or 96, I think, right now.
Sure. Yeah, it would be roughly here on.
Yeah, it's pretty much that bounce. Yeah, it's that bounce with the.
So,
that fade. Yeah.
Yeah, so with coming to the end of this month and then a new month starting, that was why I said it would be really cool to see it kind of tank in the beginning of September, because we could make a lower wick on the monthly and also make this pattern that would make everyone go bearish and they'd get totally fucked right here. It would be great to watch. I pulled up this for kind of just shits and giggles, because there was a lot of confluence of this pattern up in here, and this here on totally different time frames on the way up. And the reason I want to
I remember that actually. If you go back to that November 2015 area with that giant wick at the top,
yeah,
a lot of that had to do with this Ponzi scheme called Triple M. You were around, you remember?
Totally, yeah, and you know, FOMO, and it makes it happen. And then that crash back down is kind of like here. We just kind of didn't have the wick here, right?
Yeah.
The point is we made a parabolic-esque shape here, and then there was a slight breakdown here and here before it kind of resumes upward. So the two views are, you know, the bearish, where are we here? The bearish with the breakdown into the block, or the neutral sideways, which is seen in a couple different other fractals. And
I really, I know I'm interrupting. I really like that neutral sideways because it wasn't actually sideways to me. That was a 6-month long ascending triangle. And I love my triangles.
Yeah, no, and those are also usually great times for altcoin rallies to happen. You know, I think people that have been around in the space for quite a while know that there has been relationships with when Bitcoin does a large rally and then goes sideways, that often those are the times altcoins want to move. So with what we already talked about with altcoins and how close we are coming into December, equinox just around the corner, you know, if Bitcoin were to do something horrifically sideways like this, that gives altcoins a chance to do something, would get people interested, you know. But like I said, it might take one more wave up on Bitcoin. I would really like to talk about this at some point. I think there's a lot of misnomers going around.
You can talk about it now.
Sure, yeah. So this is just a short article I recently did, and so to me it was, you know, a lot of people talking about capital flight and Hong Kong. So to me, I was thinking to myself, well, you know, we had the narrative of capital flight and China and price going up, blah 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 blah. And then I was watching the local Bitcoin charts for CoinDance for quite a while, and there's just nothing happening in Hong Kong. So, you know, I went back and looked at things a little more, and oh, something's wrong with the site here. The charts are missing. So the point being that
the links are in the video description, by the way, and it's it looks like the last post you wrote. Yeah, the link to Coin Street news is in the video description, guys.
Sure. So what time is it here? Okay, so based on time, I'll talk quickly. So basically, the Chinese volume and the Hong Kong volume and the Singapore volume are basically the same, and they all basically run with what the Bitcoin price has looked lately. So even though, and I have done blog posts on this and TradingView charts a couple of years ago when they were doing the CNY USD devaluations, Bitcoin definitely was moving. So there was a relationship between devaluation in China and Bitcoin price movements. I 100% agree with that. I do not agree that there is any relationship between ground level user capital flight and Bitcoin in China or Hong Kong. And when you look at, like I said, and that's why I said, you know, look at Hong Kong, look at China, and then people can go look at Singapore, because Singapore is fine and the Singapore chart looks basically the same. Now, if you take those three and you compare them to Venezuela and Argentina, you see a completely different picture. It's just straight up. The volume is completely straight up, which is showing that in those countries, after the fact, after something has happened, and while bad things are happening, then the ground level user is using Bitcoin for capital flight. They are using it as a safe haven asset. So when people are talking about safe haven assets, CNBC even used it as a narrative earlier in the year and has been kicking to it. The volume charts for local Bitcoins, which to me show the ground level user, maybe people trying to hide money that don't want to be on an exchange, but still have lots of money, whether it's legal money or illegal money, it's going to show up in the charts, especially illegal money with something like that. And I just don't think that there's a correlation. And I think that people should go look for that for themselves. So in short, China devaluation in Bitcoin, there is a price relationship. Capital flight narrative shows no relationship between volume, China, and Hong Kong.
So that puts a little bit of cold water on the imminent bullish case for Bitcoin to skyrocket.
Yeah, I'm not a like, to me, Bitcoin is what would be defined as like a risk-on asset. I have a hard time believing that Bitcoin is going to do well in an extremely averse, risk-off scenario. A time where a person might want to argue against that is what happened in Cyprus, but I mean that was very short-lived, and the price didn't just keep going or whatever. Would that happen on a bigger scale? My view would be that it would my view is that it would be like what gold did in the 08 through 10 era, is that it's going to sell off with the market because everybody is taking losses, and your things that you do have profit on, gold, silver, Bitcoin, you now have to pay off your losses. You're going to sell some of the things you made money on. Maybe your 401k is shot, so now you got to sell more, whatever the thing may be. Then as the market starts to bottom, the market itself is not going to just rebound, but gold and silver and those things took off first. So I think that's where Bitcoin comes in an economic crisis. I think it will do like just what it did in the quote unquote Trump dump, and that it'll get smashed like everything else, but it'll bounce much harder, faster, and sooner.
I want to quickly comment on Cyprus. The events of Cyprus, it's not that they got the people of Cyprus into Bitcoin. The events of Cyprus got people like me into Bitcoin, and I've never even been to Cyprus. Like, I still have trouble finding it on a map, right? So the events of Cyprus were a lot more critical to Bitcoin's history than the events of Hong Kong, because China can't do to another nation what they're doing to Hong Kong right now. Maybe they can try with Taiwan. That's about it. That's where it ends. But the events of Cyprus could be replicated by the EU across 20 different countries. Not to mention, if the EU can do it to Cyprus, can the US federal government do it to the states? So the events of Cyprus, I think, were a lot more critical from a global macro perspective, seeing Bitcoin as a safe haven.
Yeah, and I guess, it was also a small country with not massive amounts. If we're talking the UK, France, America, again, do people have to cover their losses and cover, their responsibilities in life first? So even though they might want to hold Bitcoin knowing that it's going to do well in a crisis, actually in the moment, they might need to be selling.
Oh, no, I couldn't agree more. It's not them. Yeah. It's the neighboring countries that are scared it's going to happen to them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like once the Greek banks got shut down, no one's in Greece buying Bitcoin, but the Spanish and the French might be.
Correct. Yeah. Anything. Yeah. Always possible. Something else I wanted to talk about was just very briefly is cannabis stocks. I've tweeted about that a lot. And
Tilray. Yeah. I've covered Tilray many times on my channel. It just the chart looks bad.
Oh, it's terrible, but it's so terrible it's good almost. So my view quickly on the cannabis sector is that we had the hype. Most people bought into it way too late. The top was literally the day before national legalization in Canada. It's just gone down and down since then. Here on the ground in Canada, we've seen horrible distribution, horrible quality control of the actual product, mold and everything. The government stores have been terrible. Ontario's running a loss. The municipalities aren't allowing licenses to happen. So out here in BC, where there was a large cannabis culture and loads of dispensaries, they could have easily just licensed the dispensaries and kept the industry moving and everything would have been fine. But instead, they made everybody shut down. They closed down everything, and now they're slowly bringing retailers online. And in the beginning, it's basically just flowered products and a couple things. So this has just been precipitous in the decline because the government has totally botched it. The revenues are missing. Now, it's really important for people, two key things here. In October, edibles and other things are going to be able to come online in Canada. And there's also, I'm just using Tilray here as an example, way too much overlay from the old Bitcoin chart. So I see tons of companies getting smashed, everyone missing on revenue because there's not enough stores to even sell their product in. And that stores is increasing in volume now that municipalities are getting more stores online, and there's going to be more types of products into the stores starting in October. So I think a little bit of consolidation would be nice to see in the market. And I think that then the cannabis stocks will see nice bounces too, and there'll be money there to be made for people.
Oh, wait, go back to the Tilray chart. My first question is, like this looks so, and you're comparing it to the price of Bitcoin. So now you're looking for a pattern in Tilray based on what happened in Bitcoin in the past. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, to me, it's just all market cycles. Even down here on the left, this little big shoot down and this V, this small, this V tall here, a V with a head and shoulders, an inverse head and shoulders on each side. And here we've got, this tall guy here, a big V and an inverse head and shoulders on each side. I mean, and then the big rally up is just like banging, and its relationship to my red line here is much the same. So like, yeah, it is what it is.
When I get screen share back, I'll pull up a chart of Tilray based on what I see, and sure. I'll throw my 2 cents in there. Okay, let's move on your side.
So altcoins, this is going back to what I was saying about Altseason. This was a pattern on Raven from far on the left side of the chart. It might have even been a different time frame, and I kind of had to ratio it a bit here to get it to fit properly, but it's been quite a good fit. So this would be a market pivot here and here in terms of altcoin dates. And it also shows, this bounce here and here over its sort of tight consolidating wedge here. So I think that this typical equinox, autumn equinox is a time to watch. And then again, back over here, December 7th, I've tweeted about December 7th. I think the last couple years on Ethereum likes to do things around December 7th. So I just thought it was just remarkable that both of the pops over trend here were exactly on what I would call Gann pivots. So for me, the Gann stuff is not necessarily a chart style like Wyckoff. For me, what I pull from Gann is just simply his viewpoints of time and how time and certain times of the year is going to affect price. So price is just Wyckoff for me, and then Gann is just time. So, that'll be a good time to look for altcoin people. I see.
I'm gonna make a mental note. I'm gonna make a mental note to have you back on in the middle of December, and we'll take a look at that. So we'll keep an eye on the December 7th date. I also got to have Da Vinci back on, guys, at the end of December to see how his 300 shitcoins in his portfolio are doing. Which he's holding.
That's not how I trade, yeah.
We'll take a look at that as well. All right, let's move on.
So there's 2 ways to look at this very quickly. So this down here in December would be the typical alt season, and then that would last like 3 months. This here would just be like a bit of a rally. And when looking at Dash and other altcoins, often when you see big wicks down, they often retest themselves and then have a bit of a bounce. We're coming back in to test a wick here on Dash again. So because we're coming into September 7th soon and then autumn equinox, if this could find its way to go sideways, it would have a bump, the same time as Raven. So that's why, again, another confirming point to look at a relief rally in September. BNB is one that people look at a lot. I'm looking at the USD side.
Oh, that's an ugly chart, man.
Yeah. So from this high, so this is for everyone here. I saw this as a head and shoulder that popped out to me on the chart. So I look at the head and shoulder, and I want to look at like measured moves and things like that. So here to here, and then so this is log, so it's a little warped, right? So here to here. And then the breakdown to here, those are equal. So it's a measured move. And then also this high to this bottom of the left shoulder. And then this high of the head, a measured move down is also here. So we have this low, swing low on the far left, this measured move, but also the head and shoulders measured move. 3 things all pointing to this block down in here. So if Bitcoin can go up one more leg And then, like I said altcoins will probably rally here-ish or here-ish, which means for Bitcoin, here-ish or here-ish after an attempt at the all-time high. So for me, if we can get this to go like this and then pull back, and then if right here around Christmas time, we can get Bitcoin to go again, then we have Raven going at Christmas, we have Dash going at Christmas, we have BNB having the opportunity to fall for a couple more weeks or a couple more months. Everything would line up perfectly for December. So I would just love to see that happen from a time point of view.
And you think that, so for a quarter of the year starting December, altcoins could outpace Bitcoin in its rally?
Yes. If the conditions persist and those, if those projections that we're looking at actually pan out. I mean, they panned out a lot so far, so it's very plausible. It's valid until it isn't, obviously, but right now it's still valid. So that's why I'm sharing that viewpoint.
All right, cool. Looks like you have gold and platinum, both markets our viewers do care about. So go ahead.
Yeah. So we get a silver here, silver gold ratio, and here platinum gold ratio. And I just wanted to kind of bring to people's attention that, historically silver was right up near kind of highs on the ratio and is coming back down to trend. And we'll see, if we can get a breakdown, and then, that would be silver outpacing gold. And platinum, the trading view chart doesn't go back very far, but if people wanted to go Google, the platinum gold ratio.
No, it does. You shouldn't use TVC.
Okay.
You should use GC1 for gold and PL1 for platinum. Those are the continuous futures. They go into the 70s.
Okay, so either way, it's at the all-time low right now. So it was just kind of proving that we were up quite a bit back in the day in the 70s. It's just kind of been grinding down quite a lot. We've made all-time low after all-time low. We're making this tight wedge. Volatility here, volatility here, volatility here, less volatility here, tightening. Fake breakout here and here, and the back under. I think with what we're seeing with silver, that if we can see a little bit of follow through and we can get platinum back into the wedge, that there should be some upside.
But those are ratios, right? What do you think of the gold spot price currently sitting at around what, 1550 or so, 1540?
Yeah, so
1520.
Sure, yeah. So I believe what I had marked on a chart before was these lows here are important, and that in there, and that price is right on that now. Oops, it's up here a little bit. So we're right at that now, and I would love to see, let's get our percent tool here, price range, off this bottom, 15% move, 13% move, 16, 13, there was another 13 back in here. I talk about it with altcoins a lot too, because again, I'm back to algorithms a lot of the time. So I believe like Litecoin, you can pretty much buy after a 23% drop like clockwork, and you're going to make money. So if we were to do this again and take another 13% run, something that I showed on the other charts is.
But you would need a pullback first. You're looking for a pullback before you do that.
Yeah, there's a possibility. So to me, two things are happening. Either it's done because we've come up against resistance here, or we're in a small pullback before hitting this zone here, just under 16. I personally would be far more surprised to see, any kind of pullback in this versus something like that.
Oh yeah,
and then pull back.
And what do you think about gold's chances for 2000?
Gold's chances for 2000? I don't know. I guess that really depends on what's happening with Trump in 2020. I mean, like the economy is so high in terms of people actually having jobs. A very short story I'll tell, like 30 seconds. A really good friend of mine, known him since like high school. So what's that, like 25 years almost. He's African-American from LA, moved to Canada. We met in Canada. He became a pastor. We knew each other through music. We stayed friends. He's a pastor at a church way down in the South in Georgia. He calls me up one day and he's like, why is Trudeau such a pussy? And we laugh and I'm like, what? And he's like, well, we all vote for Trump and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but wait, you're like a black church and blah, blah, blah. Why are you guys all voting for Trump? And he's like, well, because everyone has jobs and we don't all have to sit in the food stamp line, and we can pay for our own lives and put money on our own tables. And, you know, like we don't talk about it, but like our whole church is going to vote for Trump again. So I went, holy shit. So even though we see what we see in the media and Twitter and being attacked all the time, like if the average person, you know, going to church even, that's not a white conservative, is just happy to have a job, then that could put Trump in. And if I think that everything that's happening with trade wars would get resolved before the election, and then maybe that makes gold pull back. And maybe we don't see gold, you know, like maybe gold does this on trade worries. And then coming into the election, he decides trade shit is solved. He wins the election, gold's whatever stuff happens because it's Trump, and then gold goes back up before he's out in 2024. I'm not necessarily sold.
Very reasonable. Yeah. All right, can you show us something with Gann real quick? That is not my expertise by any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so Gann a lot of the time was just like price and cycles, right? It wasn't necessarily like a trading style like Wyckoff. So I guess the two things that I will show is the Gann 50% rule.
Just something for my audience that if this intrigues them, they will go and research it more.
Yeah, so do the Gann 50% rule. And I have a thing on TradingView here, and other people talk about it too. And basically, once a bottom happens and you've had a swing high, you're looking to buy at either a 50% price cut or a 50% Fibonacci retracement. And, you know, you can invert it the other way as well, too. So in stocks, it's much more towards this 50% rule. In crypto, definitely be open to some wiggle room because it's a less liquid market. You can get the spikes through down to 55. Another thing with Gann is all about cycles. So,
by the way, I use that rule on IPOs if I feel that the company is actually profitable, right? Or will be profitable. Like I wouldn't use it on a one-hit wonder like a GoPro or a Fitbit, but on Facebook and Lyft and Uber and like all of these hot IPOs that are coming out, I love that 50% crash off the IPO.
Yeah, perfect. And then another thing with Gann is cycles, and Gann was a big commodities guy. So obviously there's more cycles in certain commodities than just stocks, because certain commodities can be highly influenced by weather. So something like corn, you're going to see price movements that have to do with when you put the corn in the ground and when you actually harvest. So plant and harvest. You'll see other things too with, I think I erased all my lines, but you would also see it on natural gas because it gets colder in the winter and warmer in the summer. So you're going to see speculation with people wanting to see a rise in gas price in the cold months and then a pullback in natural gas price in the warm months. So those are things to do with cycles that are sometimes purely time and sometimes that are based on the instrument itself. So I think that those are the 50% rule and the 50% move, and then the cyclical movements based on time. So for Bitcoin and altcoins, it's
you're looking at natural gas chart, man. We're below 50% drop, and we're going into the winter soon. So that's probably a nice one, huh?
It very well could be. I've been watching it a lot, and something that was interesting was that for the people that I work with, we were looking at something funny a year and a bit ago, and it was like, well, we were down here and it was like, okay, well, natural gas is going to make a move, but how is it going to play itself out? And the interesting thing is not only did it run to trend and die at trend, but it happened and stopped exactly with a pipeline explosion in Western Canada. So the pipeline blew up and they had to actually restrict gas usage even in schools, high schools in Vancouver. Like, it totally affected Western Canada, which made the price spike. And then when the pipeline, things got done, bam, down we go, and then boom, down all the way through the warming season. So yeah, it's definitely worth taking a look at this winter.
All right, last thing, and that is, can you pull up a Bitcoin chart daily and or weekly and walk us through the Wyckoff and where we are in the pattern?
Yeah, sure. So let's move this down here.
Or 3-day, we can split the difference.
So one thing we're going to take a look at first is like a bigger picture view here, and people might not really notice, but when I was talking before when I was talking before about the price action here, I was talking about 3 drives and a Wyckoff market model, and a lot of these are 3 drives followed by a blow off. Sometimes the blow off just continues straight up and you don't see it on a weekly chart, but you'd see it on a daily. And 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think that one is stretching it a little bit.
Yeah. That kind of thing in terms of 4 steps and then a steep blow off at the top. And I think, because when we're looking at it based on what this, here, go down here and clear it first, garbage. Once you have a nice, actually, you know what? I fucked that up. We need to use this. Boom.
Yep, I helped build this back in the day, right?
Yeah, really, I did not. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's already redone, but like the original formula for the BLX index, that was my formula. But then they had it redone by professionals.
Okay. 1, 2. There's a hitch in there for the blow off, and then done. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and done. And we're gonna go 1. This went sideways, 2, 3s, and done. And here, 1. And we could be very early in a bull market. And one of the reasons why I feel that is because of this rise, smash under the red line, and this is 1. A rise.
What is the red line?
Smash under the red line.
Well, what moving average is that?
I don't like to say. Sorry. Okay. And
that's okay.
And 1. A rise, a smash under the line, and 1. So I think that there's a very large probability that if we are going to see another bull market, that we have done step 1 and that we've got a ways to go. There's definitely people out there that could make an argument that could happen. I'm not one of those people, but based purely on patterns, I'm not going to argue with that person, really.
So it sounds like you don't put much stock into fundamentals at all. You're all charts and patterns, and what happens in the news is kind of relevant if it's really major, but in general, it's 90% noise.
Yes, because I feel most of the time that the news is getting baked into the chart ahead of time. And from what I know from altcoin trading is that, okay, so, your dev is working away and he knows his buddies and he probably knows a whale or 2. And when he knows your code or your update is going to be good, he starts buying and the price starts rising. And other people are like, wow, that's fucking weird. Why is this price going up? Oh, well, I'll buy some. And then price goes up a little more. And then the retail is like, that's weird. Why is this chart going up? Oh, I guess I'll buy some. And then all of a sudden, when you're like 80% of the way from the top and there's 20% left, it's like, like, oh, a new wallet and a new code, and we've done this, that, and the other, and people are like, oh, crazy, and then it goes up a bit, and then it crashes 50%, right? So I just think that most of the time, unless, like you say, it's big news, it's baked into the chart. Yes.
Right.
And right before
I gotta take over screen share. I'm being texted and yelled at because I'm late for dinner.
Okay.
And but we are gonna close out the show. I did want to pull up one thing. I wanted to pull up Tilray because that's a stock that you're interested in. You're not a TD sequential guy, but I am. So I'm looking at the daily TD sequential, and I see a potential buying opportunity in Tilray in about 5 trading days. So when I get to one of my 9s, it will be a double 9, assuming we keep going down because the pattern can break tomorrow. But assuming this keeps going down, there is a potential buying opportunity in Tilray in about 5 days, so late September. And on a weekly scale, we are on a 7 of 9, and that's also a good sign. There is a support area right here, and we could get a 9 on a weekly scale in 2 weeks. So, and that would also bring it down to its IPO price. So Tilray could be a decent buying opportunity, especially as you say, the laws in Canada on marijuana and cannabis are going to change and be more optimal to stocks like Tilray. So that could be a potential buying opportunity if the moon and the stars and the equinoxes align.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah.
All right. Real quick, we're going to close out. I did not even have time to shill any of my events. I will only shill one thing, and that would be the financial summit. And then I'm going to ask DJ Thistle our usual questions on probabilities. Check out the financial summit. It's my attempt to combine top-notch traders with funds looking for traders. This is an event in Bali, and it's going to be 6 days long at a very fancy resort. And you know some of these guys. You remember Van Zen from back in the day, of course, and you know Willie. So that's what we're playing. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the screen share. That's the only thing that's the only thing I'm showing today. And 3 questions, and then we have to end it. So on a scale of 1 to 100, what is your probability that the price of Bitcoin will fall to the low 7,000s or lower before the halving?
Yeah, see, I know your 3 questions, and I wanted to kind of cheat and say 50% on all of them because it can go up or down either way. I don't really like to. If you would ask me these questions on the beginning of that run up, when I was dead set certain I knew exactly what was going to happen and we were going to 13K, I'd give you an answer. Today, I'm a little iffy. I think, so my answer will be, if we can do it in the next 2 weeks, then it's going to happen. If we don't do it in the next couple of weeks, then it's not happening.
You can have if conditions, right? So you can say, if we don't go to 7,000 in September, it ain't happening.
Okay, so yeah, so that's it then. If we don't go to 7,000 before September 23rd to 25th, but more so September 7th to 9th, then 0% chance.
Okay, wow, that's ballsy. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The probability that we are above 10,000 on January 1st.
Fuck, 99. Let's do it.
Wow, so you're bullish into year end, along with the Altseason. Okay, got it. And the final one, the probability.
I should say that is the caveat is that it's dependent on the first question. You know what I mean? So if that doesn't happen and we hold and we're all good, then 0%. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And the final question, the probability of a new all-time high before or around the halving, which is in May.
Yeah, that's a tougher one. I think that there's a pretty good chance that we could attack the high and fail before halving and then take it out after halving. And it would be within probably a couple month period. So, around the same time, 50-50.
All right. Hey, man, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. I'll try to remember to bring you back on at the latest after December 7th, after that Altseason would have already begun. You're anticipating an Altseason. I forgot, it was December, it was the winter solstice till the spring, right?
Yeah, so winter solstice to spring equinox is the main time to look at. We're taking a good hard look at the market on December 7th. 6th and 7th, we also want to have our eyes open for any smaller rallies in the near term, keeping our eyes open between September 6th and 9th until the 23rd.
Perfect. DJ Thistle, thank you so much. Are you DJing tonight?
Yeah, I am going to do like a hip hop soca dance hall event tonight.
Oh, I have to come down to your town, man.
Awesome.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way to get there. Maybe even next year. It sounds awesome. I can't wait to go to the club, watch you spin. All right.
Sure thing. Thank you very much for having me on. This is my first time and you guys are great. And thank you very much.
Yep. Check them out on Twitter and the website. All the links are in the video description. I got to run and I will talk to you all on the next one. Thank you guys.